Thank you, and hope you all enjoyed the lunch, and hope you are enjoying these days, this event. Appreciate seeing you here. Hope you're sharing best practice. You're bringing back a lot of new ideas, new inspirations, because you are holding the hands of the future of this region in your hands, and to keep this region up to the beat, up to speed. I trust you in staying best in class, and also for the development soon to come. And the development soon to come, actually already here, is digitalization. And I think it might be okay here to bring a kind of disclaimer. I heard, unfortunately I'm not able to join the morning, but I heard there has been some quite technical oriented presentations. This is not, for you, I think, considered technical. But I hope most of you will find it interesting, if not, then at least to have a picture of what you're doing, why you're doing, what is driving it. So this is more about why than the how. And as I said, it is digitalization that is driving this. And digitalization is not to happen. It's already here. For me to get here, I had to call a taxi. Has any one of you recently tried to call a taxi by use of your phone? A few weeks back, I had to give up for Taxi Stockholm. I were even not able to find their number. It is the 150,000, but you get all kind of dispatches and other funny stuff. So you are more or less forced these days to use your app if you are looking for a taxi. The advantage of using the app is, of course, that when I were in Kista and I tapped, I only had to tell where to go. And then, yeah, you want it now, or you want to steer the taxi when you are arriving. The payment is taken care of if you have added your credit card into the app. You can see who is driving, where the taxi is, when will it arrive. You can stay inside until it's outside. When you're here, you simply leave the taxi, slam the door. Payment is handled, invoice in your mailbox. So that is one sort of digitalization. On my way up here, traveling between Copenhagen and Stockholm, of course, quite often passing through Copenhagen Airport, and incidentally, each time I went through that airport, I get an advertise from the airport. Advertising about parking, cheap liquor, or whatever it is. But just passing the airport is enough. Somehow, someday, I've done something, so my phone, wearing in my pocket, is linked to my email. So just passing through the airport. I know they're using the information about who's passing, and they're monitoring how they are passing, also to how to find out where there's bottleneck in the airport and where they want to hold people back and where they should move faster. So whatever you like it or not, you're monitored 24/7, whatever we do, wherever we move. We are doing a lot of footprints. So the real driver for digitalization is actually the devices. It is the explosion in the technology evolution, innovation. We are surrounded by new devices, monitors, cameras, mics, drones, whatever devices. We are whatever we touch, whatever we do, we are surrounded by billions of connected devices, trillions of sensors, and the mobile subscriptions. There are today more mobile subscriptions than people on Earth. That's a reality. So all these devices, all these connections generate a mountain of data. And the digitalization is the game of identifying in this mountain, this massive amount of data, identify those data and connect those data that make sense and is useful. And to make it really a success, then turn it into business. That's the digitalization. Some new companies start at this point, Uber being one of them, and then we call it disruption, or I think that was the buzzword of last year. Now we call it digitalization. So But Uber learned us this trick about the taxis. And the existing economy, existing business, existing taxi companies have now learned the trick, so they have nearly as good apps. Airbnb is another example. They are not adding any physical stuff. They are not producing anything. Only thing they are doing is combining available data and turning that into business. That is true digitalization. And that digitalization is enabled by you and us in the data center industry, and that is the subject. As already said, working in the industry for the majority of my long life, and spent the last roughly 20 years with Interaction. Interaction is a carrier and cloud-neutral colo provider. We are operating roughly some 125,000 square meters of raised floor. We're not those who count room for gensets and parking lane, etc. into this. So we're talking 125,000 square meters of actually raised usable floors. Those 125 square meters is used for neutral co-location. Neutrality has been key to Interaction always from the very beginning. In the beginning, we were carrier neutral because we wanted to provide the market with a neutral playground where carriers, customers could meet. You could choose the carrier or carriers of preference. So this about connectivity, traffic has been key to us all the time. And out of that, we learned this about neutrality as well. Later on, it became cloud neutral. So I think we are on the journey now that we might end up being simple neutral provider. As neutrality, as I said, is key because we want to be the place where you can build your solution. And you can only build your solution if you're not at a competitor. So the minute, from my point of view, some of my colleagues, when they start providing service of their own, they're not that neutral any longer. And then I think they risk disrupt their own business. So we are not competing anyhow with any customers, carriers, exchanges, cloud providers, service providers, system providers, whatever. We are providing the environment, and what is our main interest is how is this environment used, what's happening in the facility, in the data center. And when we looked at this a few years back, we looked at what's happening and we saw customers of a certain kind has a tendency to link to each other, to make use of each other. And then we labeled it community of interest. And the first real, true community of interest was actually high-frequency trading. And when preparing for today, I was thinking of high-frequency trading when that happens. That might actually be kind of the first warning of what is happening, where a machine is taking over. I don't know if it's too much to call it artificial intelligence or virtual reality. It isn't, but it's machine to machine, and it is a lot of those things we're talking about today. High-frequency trading a few years back was when we found out and we dared to put a computer to do the deal on the exchange, to buy or to sell. There were some smart guys looking at this and saying that, okay, I sit, watch my monitor, and when it goes up, it goes down, I buy, I sell. If I could put that into a PC, I could go down, have a beer, and get back and be very rich. So let's find out how this actually works and put some algorithms behind. And in the beginning, it was quite easy, and few people made a lot of money because they were able to trade faster with their machines than us who still had to read the newspaper and call for buying or selling to the bank. But of course, more found out how this worked. So they also start doing this. So it became a race of who were able to do the deal fast enough. And out of that, this high-frequency trading. High-frequency trading ended up, I'm not sure about the situation today, another story disrupted this significantly. But when it were at its highest, it were a race between machines who is able to buy and sell fastest. And there were a price tag in, I think, millions of dollars for milliseconds. So imagine if you know that it's racing. It's going up now. And then you are able to buy and sell even before this information is available to the market. An entire data center were built in the US just to handle this and make a ton of money, but then it started becoming regulated. And I think that was a good idea. But this about connecting these devices, and to avoid this, where the one who sits closest to the exchange has all the advantages, we had to build these infrastructures with same length of cable between these devices going into this. So they had a special color, and only these special colored cables were allowed in that area to ensure that all parts on this exchange were dealing with the same latency. And when you look at this, and I think, yeah, as I said, this is where we learned this about communities of interest, because this is not only a matter of I want to sell, okay, I buy it, okay, we have a deal. It's a very, very complicated process where a lot of components, a lot of data, a lot of applications is linked together to make this work. So linking all this together, you have the community of interest. And that we transferred to other business areas where we saw that certain business of a certain kind talk together, make use of each other data, and we build these communities of interest. What then happened was the cloud. And then some thought, okay, now it's done with data centers. Goodbye. We only need one, and we don't care where it is. That is the one with the cloud. All data centers gone. And I think we all moved most of our stuff to the cloud. I relocated privately a few years back, and I got the eye-opener when I cleared my old home office. It's non-existing anymore. I think most of us is carrying our home office in our pocket today. But a few years back, we had a PC, we had a PDU, we have a lot of devices on our desk. But my pictures is moved to the cloud. And today, we don't even move our pictures to the cloud, but we do our pictures in the cloud directly. So it's no longer a matter of where to store the data, where to store our pictures. It's a matter of how to handle these pictures and how to add a lot of features into these pictures. Of course, you timestamp them, you GPS stamp them, but also if I'm out sailing and I do it while I have my navigation running, I can look at the map afterwards and see exactly where did I do those papers. If I want to share them, social media, whatever, it is more or less just to click, bot, done. So you get a lot of advanced features when you use the cloud. Same goes for our music. We don't move that to the cloud. We stream it directly. It's produced into the cloud, and we stream it. Same goes for our television. Not that many, I think, is stuck to 8 o'clock to watch the news. We watch the news when we have time for it. So we're changing our behavior. We're pulling data from the cloud as ever before. And normally, we don't think that much about it because it's there when we need it. So, and that's fine. But of course, and this is where you know better than I, we are not all directly connected to the cloud. There's a need for a hub in between. A hub where we can gather all the users. For these cases, all eyeballs, all our mobile devices, gather all these in a connectivity hub, and from there connect to the different clouds, different services that we need to connect. From that connectivity hub, or at that connectivity hub, we're also able to place a buffer platform. So when we need to update our smart devices, it doesn't have to come all the way from Seattle or from Nevada, wherever it comes, to the entire globe. It can be distributed, and it can be ready at these connectivity hubs in some buffer zones, and then it can be spread as it should. So connectivity hubs, buffer zones, that is needed for this to work. Same goes for the cloud when we talk about business. When we talk about our ERP, when we talk about our financial system, whatever we talk about, we're not talking about one cloud. We have a tendency to look at data center and cloud as one thing and another thing. But cloud is a lot of things, a lot of managed services. And from our enterprise, from our business, we need access to multiple clouds. And probably we need multiple of these clouds to be able to connect to our remaining applications. And that has to be done as fast as possible. All this requires an awful lot of high bandwidth communication and fast communication and secure and at a low price. And that is where you come into the picture. When you hear the industry as such talking about the development, about cloud, about digitalization, the real enabler of this is actually you. Because if you look at the history way back from when I started, it hasn't been Moore's law or the development of processors or anything else that has been the enabler. And at the same time, the bottleneck for this development, it has been the network. And that is where you're sitting in the middle of it. If we were not able to connect, if we were not able to peer, if we were not able to exchange, if we didn't have a well-functioning network, this wouldn't work. And I know you all, no, that's next slide, sorry. So let's have a look at next page, because then we were doing fine with cloud, and what happened then? Then digitalization happened. And as we already said, this about digitalization is about this tremendous amount of data and how to turn that into business. And just a second. And if I'm making use of a shared car, time-shared pool car, whatever, and I need it to open, I need it actually to open now, not in 4 minutes' time, when the app has checked if I'm still a customer, if I have unpaid bill, if I'm where I'm supposed to be, if the car is okay, if there's anything to notice. I push the button and then I want to hear click, the car is available to me. To make that happen, we don't have time to pull data from all over the globe and rely on a lot of fibers dig down or drowned in the oceans. We need to pull most of this together as close as possible. We need to interconnect these platforms, these information, to make it happen fast enough. And not only fast enough when I click and want the doors to open, but when I later on drive on, or even better, I take the back seat and put the car in automatic, because I'm reading the news while it takes me to Stockholm. If there's a situation on that drive, I need the car to respond ASAP in milliseconds. So a lot of this communication, this data, has now to be real time. Same goes with virtual reality. If I go home, I take my glasses, do a virtual reality tour. If there's too much delay in that, then you'll simply get dizzy. It will not be the nice experience you were waiting for. It'll be the opposite. So a lot of these new technologies, this digitalization, requires real-time data. So data is now back. The requirement is back for having data at the edge of the internet. So we need to develop these connectivity hub into these digitalization platforms where we can interconnect. And interconnect is currently primarily by direct fibers. But we'll end up with that many fibers in our facilities that will come back and beg you for helping us with something else, something peering that can take care of this. It has to be fast, it has to be reliable. And as I was going to say before, that you will be kept busy for the next coming years. There are some fantastic figures out there about this development, and I think one of them is saying that we are doubling the information on the internet, I think, on a yearly basis now. And recently I saw that we are going to require same grow in bandwidth the next 5 years as you have given us the past 25 years. So not only will you be kept busy, but you need to work faster to support this development. On top of the technical requirements for these data, we also someone more and more has found out how important these data they are, how they can be used and misused. So a lot of focus now on where is data stored, how is it protected, how is it deleted when it shouldn't be used anymore. We have a tendency in IT to keep everything forever, but that will not last. GDPR is the latest one, talk a lot about it in the industry. I'll not bore you with that. But it is a new game to us that the interest, the focus on data, how is it stored, where is it stored. So that will also be a new requirement to communication and to data centers. Now, if we look at this, then what has happened with these data centers? Then we started out in a quite simple world. We start building 500 square meters or whatever to one or two few customers. Here's the key, feel free, have fun. Then it developed into adding some basic service, taking care of access, security and other things. Developed to managed services where we are adding the meet me room, connectivity, and into the highly connected with the cloud, where the name of the game is this building community stuff. And now we are taking the next step into the digital marketplace, connecting the customers in the facility, interconnect these customers. And what you can see is that the business integration is moving very, very fast in the data center. So from coming from something in the basement, not that many care about, data centers has become a real part of enabling the business. So my task, our task has gone from simply protecting the equipment to enabling the business. And for that, we need your full support, we need your peering, we need your network, we need lower latency, more bandwidth, more security. We need to connect, interact, transport, process faster than we ever seen. And together, be aware of that, together we are changing the world faster than ever. Do whatever you Google, look at whatever prediction, talking about digitalization, blockchain, the development in the industry. The world, we will change. It's not the world that will change. We will change the world dramatically during the next years due to digitalization. A lot of jobs will vanish, new jobs will come up. So we have to take this. Serious, and we have to think about what we're doing, what we're offering the world. And if we look at the Nordics, the Nordic has been seen, or we have managed to market the Nordics as a perfect place for data centers. Unfortunately, quite often still we see this about the Nordic being a perfect place for data centers due to free cooling. And I think that's a bad story. I think the good story is that, first of all, if we are making use of IT digitalization, yes, we are making use of resources, we are making use of energy. So if we really want to be Greenpeace protectors and stop the misuse of the resources, please lay down your iPhones and close your computers. That's the only way to protect the earth against this use. But to me, it doesn't have to be misuse, because if we place this usage in the Nordic region, we have not only access to huge amount of energy, but also renewable energy. We can fuel these data centers from water, from hydro energy, and from wind energy. And that, I think, is the right path. And then back to this about the free cooling. Free cooling is the next best, because then at least you're not using energy to get rid of it. But you have used the energy, and we have turned it into heat. So what we then should do is return it and use it as heat for our households. Another thing the Nordic region is good at, and I have never noticed that, but we are one of the few regions in the world where district heating is really well developed. Most of our major cities are heated from district heating. And that is exactly what we need to turn this energy we used for the data centers back to society and make good use of it. So if we do it the right way, we make use of this region to enable digitalization in a sustainable way. We make use of renewable energy. We return it to society as heat. And by doing that, we secure our welfare. And that's another important stuff, I think, if we take it really to why are we going to work. To me, it has to do with protecting the welfare of the region and be sure that there is good jobs also for my grandchildren. Thank you.